What's up, YouTube? This evening I'm going to talk to you a little bit about painting an aluminum boat. Not just painting an aluminum boat, camouflaging an aluminum boat. I needed a duck boat, and I just happen to have this aluminum fishing boat, so I figured, what the heck, I'll just paint it. So I set out on my adventure and found out that there are absolutely no videos on how to paint an aluminum boat. So here's a video. Initially in the process, what you need to do is you need to acid etch the hull. You don't always have to acid etch it. You can light sand it, or you can use like steel wool or whatever. But bottom line is you got to get something for the paint to stick to on the hull. I actually made my own acid etch out of vinegar and water. And I just used a sponge to rub the vinegar around on the hull, and then I used the water to wash it away. It worked very nicely. The next step that you're going to want to take in the process is use a good self-etching primer for the base. I don't know how much I can stress this. I've seen some boats that people have painted without a self-etching primer as their base color. And after a couple of years, it held up like the first year or so, but it just started flaking off. So definitely want to get a good self-etching primer. What it does, it has acetone in it or something like that actually causes the aluminum surface to be etched up some, and then the paint that's in there will bond to it, giving you something to lay down a good coat of paint on top of, which is really the whole thing that we're aiming for here. So, next in the process, after I did my self-etching primer, I went ahead and I coated the boat in a tan color. I just used a camouflage paint that I bought from Walmart. It was super cheap, like $3 or something like that. And I think it only took like a can to coat the bottom of it. But to get my patterns, what I did was I used some sticks as stencils. And I also went inside of a house and pruned up a palm plant that we had. And I used the palm. The palm looks very similar to reeds and cattails and different things you see out in the water, so it actually made for a really good camouflage pattern. So if you got any palms around your house, I mean, definitely go ahead and snap one of the limbs off and use it as a stencil. I also added some lights to the boat for navigating early in the morning. You know, when you're trying to get out there and get on some ducks, you don't want to be ramming into any sticks or logs or whatever. So those just hook to the deep cycle battery that I use. And I put some seats on there for comfort. Overall, the paint stuck very well. And I think it was a really good project. Here are some images from our maiden voyage. I hope you guys enjoyed my video. I hope you learned a little bit of something about painting an aluminum boat.
Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to be drawing a boat. I've been getting a lot of requests to do a boat drawing, and boats are just beautiful objects. I love drawing them, even though I don't know much about boats. I never go on boats, but I live near the water and I just love looking at them and the graceful shapes that they have. But they can be tricky objects to draw, especially to get the curves of the hull in perspective. So the way I typically like to start out is to first understand the rectangle of space that the ship takes up. So that hull can get tricky unless you understand that first. So here I'm going to draw this rectangle in space, get a center line down, and then you'll notice I just get these kind of three basic lines of the hull, the left and right side and the underside. And once you have that in perspective, you can do a lot. So here's another angle coming at us, a little bit more of a dynamic perspective. Once we nail those three lines of the hull, everything else starts to hinge off that. So here we have some details, some windshield, some decking, some engines. On this first one, let's say there's kind of a sunken part in the front of the boat here with some seating, maybe some kind of console here, and then a rear bench seat people can kind of hang out, get the decking perspective, and the engines. You can see how just getting that decking down really gives the So now that you understand how to get those 3 lines in, let's do a little bit of a bigger view. Down. We'll start again with those 3 lines of the hull, and I'm gonna start to kind of break out that hull, and then get some kind of a windscreen in here. Let's do a smaller kind of a speedboat. See, like maybe once we start getting in that hull, pop a couple of engines in the back here, just kind of interactive with this sloping deck. Maybe we'll do this thing where the deck steps down on either side of the cockpit there. So you have this raised kind of front deck and then sink down there to the rear into this bench seat in the back. A bunch of people can hang out. Get the center line in there so you kind of understand where that sink is. And from that, I'll use that center line to hinge off the deck. And some kind of floating console, so some kind of projected console here. What's a boat without a pilot with a striped navy shirt, right? Let's get into kind of sketching. So now that I have the line work kind of loosely in, I'll start applying some marker for the decking. And so I want to do this before I really go crazy with the line work so that the marker doesn't totally interact with the deck. So just some light lines here and it won't freak out the ball. Now that I have that decking kind of in the marker, I'll start becoming heavier with ball points, some basic hatching. You'll notice when I do my hatching, I always have it going in the same general direction, never cross hatching. It's only clever I see with a single hatching. I'm going to use that hatching on the engines too, really quickly to give some dimension. Right? So I went over once with one layer hatching and then another layer on the sides. Let's add some decking on the back here too, so that wood kind of really flows over the whole shape nicely. And now I'm going to come in here with some shadow, using my line weight to create shadow, so you get a sense of depth on those steps to understand that the decking really goes down. And now we're going to really power through on that windshield. You know what? I think we had to switch to the Sharpie here. Right? Just force my line weight to be a little bit heavier. And say there's some trim around that window. Coming back at the ball point, say there's some kind of a reflection hitting that glass, reflective light coming off the water. Again, notice how I'm using my hatching here, right? So notice I'm using the hatching all in the same direction, going from dark to light. Whoops, hit the camera. Now I'm coming back in, really powering in some details on the underside of the glass. Back with the Sharpie, kind of darkening up some of that line weight. And notice how I use the Sharpie, I really let it feather out, so I can still get line weight even with a Sharpie, right? It's not just one consistent line. I can let it feather out using pressure, right? By going harder to softer with it. So now it's really starting to take shape. To have that decking in and now have some powered in line weight. Let's get some more dimension on this console. Maybe there's some venting details on here, and really push the underside of that. And kind of shade in that bench seat. And you know, I think it needs some speed lines coming off, you know, as if it's displacing water in the sketch, right? A little dimension of the side of the hull. Coming back with the Sharpie, darken up some of those window reflections. Just really make that pop. And I think we got to coming back with the blue. I wasn't going to use blue in this, but we need to get his blue stripes on the pilot shirt there. And I think having some blue sidewalls to this cockpit will help it stand out a little bit more, give it a little bit more dimension, a little bit more interest in the glass too. When I rotate the paper, notice that you get that stripe in the side of the hull. Sometimes there's just no way to get the line other than to rotate the paper so you can let that line flow off from the hinge of your shoulder and your elbow. A little bit of wood grain in the decking, and you know what? I'm just not happy with the way the engines turned out, so I'm going to black them in completely with a Sharpie. And remember this technique I used a couple of weeks ago in that razor sketch, right, where I came back in with the white pencil over top of the Sharpie. So I'm going to use that technique here and mix the techniques up a little bit just to give a little bit of different dimension to those engines. Coming in with some extra white here. There you have it. Quick speedboat sketch. The sketch in total took about 30 minutes. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And I'd love to hear your suggestions for future videos. So please comment below and subscribe if you want to see some more. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Happy sketching.